welcome back to the broadcast. Let's talk investment for a moment. You know, we can talk all this politics and what we expect the politicians to do for us, but you know, it goes and boils down back to you. What are you doing for your own self? And so it's really important that as you have conversations of how we can take the country forward, have conversations of how in your own mini space you can make sure that your future is secure. There's no better way of securing a future than thinking of how you can set up something aside, because you know they say the sunny days you know are only kidogo sana, and then after a while you'll lose these sunny days. What will you have done with the little that you were making at that point? And even as we think of what we need to do for the rainy days, one key thing that we do not fail to speak of, is the aspect of making sure that you secure yourself a home. And so today we discuss Saccos, and we ask whether they are the way to go, especially when you want to set up homes, when you want to set up, you know, rental biddings, when you want to just make sure that at least you're able to have projects that will help you generate revenue. Joining me for this conversation on my farthest left is George Mburu, who's the CEO of Mizizi Africa Homes. George, it's good to have you this morning. And right next to me is Henry. Henry Washira is the CEO, branch manager.
Branch manager.
Hey, branch manager, Fortune Sacco. Fortune is a big deal again. Yeah. And you know, it's in different parts of the country, and therefore he's the branch manager, Nairobi?
Yes.
Nairobi branch. All right. Good to have you. So here we are, and I guess for a moment I need to step aside and allow the gentlemen to speak, converse between themselves, and tell us how important Saccos are, and not just important, but important in the world of the real estate. Let's start with you. On normal basis, would you want me to come to you as a client on my own, struggling, or you know, there are instances you would want me to come, you know, as join other Saccos that will probably have such arrangements, and then they come to you and then they tell you set up a structure for our clients, and then somehow have arrangements that would be friendly for them? Which one would you rather?
Yeah, thank you very much. And for sure, for any first-time homeowner or any first-time person that is buying a property, the best way to go is the Sacco. Because you find that when you are getting a loan, you are asked some things like a collateral, and that is something that young people or most people when they are starting, they do not have. So for any person that wants to have a property or to have a home, the easiest and actually it's like the only way, it is the Sacco. Because once you go to the Sacco you need to be maybe in a group. People, you have guarantors, people who know you, they can guarantee you to get your first money. And also, I'm happy because most Saccos are now even starting to give loans, even without the guarantor, and they make use of the property that you are purchasing. And this is something that should be encouraged. And if the Saccos and the developers work closely, we can close a very big gap that is there, because there is a big problem. People, yes, they have an income, but they do not have guarantors. They need to purchase a property. This property can be used as a collateral. So if Saccos and developers can work closely, and the issue of first-time homeowners, because if you have your first home and you get the title to that home, now going now to the bank would not be so difficult. But being a first-time homeowner, especially for a young person, you do not have something to show the bank. It will be actually almost impossible, not even go beyond the inquiry desk. You'll be asked, do you have a collateral? Yes, you have a pay slip maybe, or you have your source of income. Do you have a collateral? No. Automatically, you become disqualified. But if you join Sacco, and the Sacco also they encourage people to get to know each other. They have forums where people can know each other so that they can guarantee each other if they have to, or they make use of the collateral or the property that somebody is purchasing, or they work closely with the developer, like let's say Mizizi Africa Homes Limited works closely with a certain Sacco, and their members are able to be given loans using this collateral. If they are unable to service that loan, they come now to the developer. We have a very clear agreement that once this customer is unable, the collateral will come to us, and you can sell on our behalf. Actually, for us, like Mizizi Africa Homes Limited, because we develop properties, by the time the customer has paid maybe for a few months and is unable, the property will have appreciated even much more. We'll be able to get back the loan, a higher value. We give back the money to the Sacco, and it's a win-win for everybody.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. So when you say it's a win-win for everybody, it means if I'm not able to pay, and then the developer comes in, and then they sell this, the value has gone up, they get an extra amount of money. Where does it leave the client now?
The client,
is automatically
at the same time, you'll appreciate. The clients who is unable to pay, sometimes it's not because they do not want to pay.
That's true.
You find maybe somebody was employed by the time they were approaching. That is the worst case scenario. Maybe you are approaching a Sacco, but you had a job or an income, but at some point, things happen like Corona, the way it happened, and you lose your job. So as opposed to having so much pressure, you have so much stress. The Sacco is pushing you, pay. You do not have the money. It is better. The way we normally say, you can leave the fight for another day. Yes, you have lost the property, but again, you have your what do you call your the one that you are put in the CRB.
Yes.
Yeah, you still have a good credit rating because you have released this property, but still, again, there's still a future. You can get back.
Some other time. Okay, well, that's interesting. So much that you have touched on, and I know we'll expound on all this as we continue. Coming to you, Ashira, and he brings up a very pertinent point. Though he leaves a gap here when he says, if Saccos and developers could work together. When he says could, it means this is something that has not been embraced so much so just yet?
Okay, thank you, Linda, for having me once more. And let me say that the kind of partnership he's talking about is something that actually it's there in most Saccos. Saccos have their real estate segment, or rather they have been able to incorporate real estate development within its core business. So, and even in terms of collaboration, some Saccos who are in real estate sector have been able now to come to people like Mizizi Africa Homes and get a collaboration in terms of how now they will be able now to advance the loans, or rather give loans to members for buying property or homes or even plots. Yeah, so it's something which is already there. I don't think where there is much of a gap, and it's just now we need now to embrace and market these as a vehicle towards home ownership.
Let's talk about embracing, and I'll tell you for free, people fear loans. I don't know whether this is by the mere fact that they don't understand the importance of it. Because like he says, sometimes you get into employment. Reality is that the money that you make cannot allow you, the capability of setting up a home as fast as possible, because you don't get much, and that's a reality today. So most of the people who've done great developments in terms of setting up even homes, they've had to go the loan way. But there's always fear of the unknown. What needs to be done to shift this?
So, Linda, the issue is not fearing the loans. Most people don't fear loans. What most people fear is the consequences of not paying the loans. So, and the consequence of not paying the loans automatically is impounding. That's where they fear their property to be auctioned. So, I think that's where the key is. And let me say that people should not fear the loans, because if you borrowing a loan for purposes of development, of acquiring property, then you shouldn't fear. And the only thing is that you need to strategize first, is to make sure that you have the capacity to be able to make the repayments, or rather the installments when the time falls due. You don't just take a loan, Linda, out of the blues. Something is a process. You have to prepare yourself to borrow. And before you say you prepare yourself to borrow, that's why in the Sacco sector, you have to also to make some savings, of course. So, as my friend was talking about, you don't lose at the end of the day, because maybe when you are getting that facility to borrow, as in that facility to buy a home or a plot, or rather, there are some savings you have made prior. So at least when you come now to asking for a facility, you are giving the backdrop that Linda has said maybe a million. Now I'm giving 3 or 4 million, which is I've given a multiplier from the savings the Linda has already put in place. So you already have an investment even before you start the borrowing process. Yes. So in either way, people should not fear the loan facility. But if you put your money in the right place and you are able to get a return from the same, Why fear? Yeah, you acquire the property, you're able to pay your loan, and at the end of the day, you acquire that property.
Okay, so, that's great.
Yeah.
George, you have spoken about the fact that, well, Saccos could be the best way to go. And this one would be friendly for a client or a person who comes to you and they would want to set up a home. But for you as a developer, which one is best in terms of, the arrangements or the financial arrangements that could be there, or investment opportunities that could be there within these entities that are able to lend people money?
Thank you very much. Yeah, the reason I had said it's a win-win for everybody, and actually even the customer does not have to lose the property entirely.
Yeah.
Because the good thing is that if you can get into a very good agreement with the Sacco and the customer who is buying, and the good thing is that the Sacco is going to fund, let's say the developer 100%. They are going to be paid for that property 100%.
Okay.
And if it's something that we are developing like Mizizi Africa Homes Limited and it's acquiring value, and at some point the customer is not able to continue paying, we can again sit down with the Sacco and agree this property has appreciated. Let's sell, we settle the outstanding balance that they have with you. Then the other money, which is now the profit, goes to the customer. So you'll find that at the end of the day, even the customer will stop being afraid. And if this information is very clear and it's very public, it's not being hidden, you'll appreciate the fact that people will actually now start taking up these loans because there is no risk, or the risks are very mitigated, they are very few. Because if you're unable to continue, yes, we sell your property on your behalf, we clear the balance that is outstanding, we give you the difference, and that is something that is very clear. Yeah, another good thing that my friend has said is that they have also had that part of developing themselves as Saccos. And for sure, from our research, we have seen most people who have acquired properties, they have acquired them through Saccos. You are in a Sacco, and that Sacco maybe gets a plot, so they feel they are more secure, because when they are giving you a loan and you are buying their own property, it's more secure. But again, there is that need for separation of duties. So it's something very good, but you find it is the same institution. There can be because the prices of the land, you see, they are the ones who will determine the price of the land. They have so much power when it comes to that, and maybe the customer may not be at liberty, maybe say dispose, they tell them we have disposed, we have made a profit, you get. So it is good, and if now there can be that working relationship between the developer and the Sacco, so that there is that separation of roles and also duties and what have you. And when we do that, I'm sure the customer, who at the end of the day, you are looking at the interest of the customer. The customer will be more safe and will be more secure and will have nothing much to lose. It's only that we need to have a very clear agreement from the word go. Okay.
Yeah. Yes, from the horse's mouth. And we have had these Saccos, like you say, that invest in properties, land, homes, and then they are sold to members at affordable rates. And that is in comparison to what it is that happens on this other side of the real estate world.
Yes.
And you find that a majority of members of this particular Sacco then would want to buy into this.
Yes.
There's always some sense of confidence that comes with that. What do you make of this angle of the market? And which one would you rather? They have the Saccos coming to do this for themselves, or they work hand in hand with the home developers?
So my thinking is, Linda, it depends with where now the objective of the Sacco in terms of its own investment, or they will need to put their investment into. Because what happens is that now, how Saccos come into being is that they bring the resources together for the benefit of the members. And bring those resources, you also need to make investments, so at least the members can be able to benefit. How are they going to benefit? The members come in, buy shares, and then they expect dividends at the end of the year. So in terms of investments, you have to be very clear. And in this case, the reason as to why most Saccos are doing it their own way is because now they want to consolidate that and maybe have a sense of control over the investments that they are putting their members into. Because sometimes you find that when they go out and maybe they collaborate, they have very less control in terms of investments. Maybe we do a collaboration with an investor, but we don't have a control in terms of how those developments are being done. But maybe when they are done internally, and the Sacco has a sector whereby, as a unit, a housing unit, for example, some of find that some of the directors of the main Sacco are also directors of the housing unit, and in that case, is that accountability part even to the members? You know, the members will be asking, what is happening in our housing sector or housing unit? How much has it brought to our pool or in terms of dividends? So in that way now, there's that accountability. The members are able to realize what they to understand the investment better. The other thing, Linda, is that because Saccos, mostly like ours, like Fortune, what we've been able to do is that we have been able to empower the members to understand this investment more through the member trainings programs that we usually have. So most members are not very they're not, as in they don't like much of their investments be done in an opaque way. Okay.
Oh, so you have to be as clear and as,
yes, and they like control to be within, the control to be within. So at least now when they ask the directors what is happening on a certain project, these directors are able to give them a very clear answer, rather than just calling somebody else from outside to give them that answer.
All right.
Because they really put these people into task. And you know, in Saccos, most Saccos, the management or the management of the Saccos is through elections. The directors are elected, so they are very much accountable to these members that you elect them. So the essence of transparency cannot be ignored in all this. Yes.
All right, and then in this case, there's more security, you would say, in comparison to the other arrangement. And have you, as Mizizi Africa Homes, gotten to levels where you've had to partner with Saccos? And sometimes, well, maybe now as a developer, you just come in on that aspect of development, as opposed to, you know, you being involved and controlling the show.
Sure. Yeah, thank you very much. You'll appreciate that at the end of the day, we are looking at the interest of the customer. And basically, the customers that are the Sacco customers are our customers who are buying from us. Let's say they want to be financed to purchase a property. What I would encourage is that people are given the liberty. At the same time, it's good, and I commend what the Saccos are doing, maybe enabling their members, because at the end of the day, we appreciate that housing and owning a home is a basic need, and it's something that is very crucial. We all agree. So now the point now comes, do you now insist your members will have to purchase whatever piece of land that you are selling? I think for me, what I would encourage, because we are looking at the interest of the customer, is to empower them. If they want to purchase the property that you are selling, well and good, that's very fine. But again, it's good to encourage them. If you want to go another way, you can extend. It's just expanding your horizon. You can expand and partner with trustworthy partners and developers like Mizizi Africa Homes Limited. So if you do not want this, you give your customer the advantages and disadvantages. You can tell them, yes, you can have this. These are the advantages. But again, the customer, you know, the interest of the customer is what matters. Because a customer will say, I've seen this piece of land, but I'm not interested in this particular area. I'm interested in this particular area. I'm interested in this kind of a house. Like I have seen the kind of house that Mizizi is doing. I love it. It's a flat roof. It's very modern. It's nice, and the cost is, I'm sure I'll be able to pay this loan. You do not also discourage them, because at the end of the day, if you empower your customer and you give them that liberty to choose, those customers are going to be even more financially stable, and they're actually going to bring much more. So if there can be that collaboration, and also the Saccos collaborate very well with the developer, it does not mean they stop doing that other department of maybe housing or land. It is just an added something that is added. I'm sure it would be much better for the benefit of the customer.
And Linda, you've been, whatever George is talking about, we have also been doing exactly that. Because we find that at times clients come with a lot of, they have a lot of choices. So somebody might spot a house somewhere, and come and ask us, can we be able to buy that house for them? We cannot force our clients to get what they don't want.
Okay.
We just now need to go into the details. We look at whether the customer has the capacity and the capability to make the installments, and then we look at the project the customer wants to invest into. Is it a viable project? Is it to the benefit of the client? Because at times, like some of these clients, they don't have even the knowledge to understand whether they need these investments in the first place. So you need to sit down with the client. We sit down with the client. We advise them. If it comes to if it happens to, we need to go to Mizizi. So be it. So we look at their project. We see how fast the customer is going to realize value from the project, and then from there we do the normal appraisal process, and then we are able to finance the client to acquire the property. Yes, and then the client will be able to pay. So I'm not saying that we are entirely trying to prohibit acquiring the property from, or even working with the developers. No, we acquire as long as the client comes in with a very viable project that he needs to invest into, we fund that.
All right.
Yes.
And speaking of funding that, is it different with housing in comparison to, say, speak of other things like say a car? If today you have to go and take a car somewhere, where there's this entity that has an arrangement with a bank. In most cases, I'm told money comes from the bank and caters for the prices complete in totality. And therefore, at that point, then it is left with the client. It's the client and the bank. How different is it with the houses? When you say people are capable, it's a 50-50 benefit across. And you equally say that there are instances when maybe a client is not able to pay, and so you as a developer can come in. At what point? So it means when you're working out on this arrangement, the Sacco is constantly involved, the client is constantly involved, and equally the developer up until the end?
Yeah, thank you very much. One thing that we'll appreciate when somebody is being given a loan by either a Sacco or by the bank, it's very rare that you'll find somebody is being financed 100%. You'll find that most of the time somebody is financed 80%.
Yes.
And on the higher side, maybe 90%. It's very rare that you are going to hear that somebody is being financed 100%. And this is because also you need to show your commitment, and you also need to show that you're also capable. You have some capability. You are not asking for help, but at the same time you're also not willing to chip in. So for either a bank loan or a Sacco loan, you also need to understand that you as a person, you also need to chip in. And that is now that where very important comes the issue of savings. You need to have saved something. If you want to acquire, let's say you want to acquire a vehicle, as you have given an example, you want to acquire a vehicle, may it be a personal car or you want a business for business. It's very rare, and in case there is a facility which is being financed 100%, unless there is another now a party who has given, maybe has topped up, you find that maybe there is an agreement with maybe the bank and maybe a certain vehicle, I don't want to mention a name, they are giving for 100%, and mostly maybe the role is that I'm going into business. But you find that if it's a personal car, to get 100%, it's not easy. So also the aspect of saving is important. If you want, you have a desire maybe to own a home, and that is what I would encourage. A home is much more safe, and land is much more better than running to buy a car. Especially now we are looking at somebody who is starting. We are starting off. We are not looking at somebody who is now very established. They have titles, they have logbooks, they have businesses that are very established. We are dealing with somebody who is maybe young, or somebody that is starting. If you are established and maybe you have titles, you have logbooks that you can go and secure alone, you are totally now on another level. But now we are talking of somebody who wants to create that foundation. You want to create your foundation so that you can start rising. And you find that most people, they lose it the moment you have started getting some money, and you run to get a personal car, and that personal car, as much as maybe you are funded 100%, assume you are funded 100%, it means all your income is going into paying something that is not adding value. It's not increasing in value. If you have to resell it, you resell it at a lower price than you had bought.
Okay.
So at the end of the day, this is a liability. To you, yes, it's a luxury you're enjoying, but at the end of the day, it is going to cost you much time to pay that loan. And if you had gotten a piece of land, it would have appreciated much more.
But you know, let's be realistic for a moment. There's a car that you can get that is pretty much affordable, and now when you start thinking of land, you know, you're not thinking of less than, you know, 700 upwards, at least in this time and age. And so one would say, well, let me go for the car, which is much easier. Probably now that's when savings and investments come in. So can you really argue on those bases of the fact that, well, instead of buying this that is a liability, go for that one that is an asset, even when you're struggling with your finances? And let's face it, sometimes you get excited, oh, I got my job. So the first thing you're thinking, let me go to the circle. How possible is it for one to get a loan at a point when they've gotten into a circle and they've not stayed so long? At what level? Are there timelines as to when one then can access some of these privileges?
So, Linda,
you'd better answer this carefully, because it will determine whether a majority of us will join your circle or not. Yeah,
but let me say this. As my friend was saying, buying a car or buying a house for starters, I believe that anything that you want to acquire is something that you really need to plan for. And not just planning, you need to do a complete analysis why you need it. Okay. Because you don't just wake up today and you think you need a car. Or you just wake up today you think you need land. Something you've just sit back, interrogated yourself and your income, and then and even why you need that particular asset. So at least now you can be able now to start the process of maybe of acquiring it. So that's where that's the basis point of all that. So what happens is that, Linda, you need to be very to understand these basics before even you get into any investment. So maybe for acquiring a car, you need to understand, why do I need this car? Is the car an asset to me? So at times the car could be an asset.
Yes.
Maybe, for example, you're in a business maybe of distribution. That's why you've gotten your first job. Okay. Maybe distribution maybe of pharmaceuticals, maybe distribution of agros. And all those are requirements that you need a car for you to be able to transit those goods. So what an asset. This becomes an asset, because maybe you're the employer or whoever is making it mandatory for you to acquire that car is paying for the car, maybe through mileage allowances, or maybe there's a stipend at the end of the day that's paying to cater for the car in terms of its maintenance, fueling, and doing something on top. So that asset at that particular moment becomes an income generating asset. And in that particular case, this is not a luxury car, as you're saying. So in terms of, if you get maybe finance 100%, there's already a likelihood of you being able to pay back the loan, because already the car is being paid generating an income. All right. But it's not a car, for example, Linda, whereby you yourself as a presenter or an anchor, you come and park there outside, and then after your show is done, you go and drive home. So that's a liability, because maybe the employer does not cater for the fuel to job, or even rather it doesn't cater for the servicing of the car. So that becomes a liability. And a liability, Linda, is any item that drives money out of your pocket. If it's eating from your pocket, that's a liability. If it's bringing money into your pocket, that's an asset. So at times, even housing themselves, we need to understand very well. And you remember the last time I was here in this show, I was talking very critically about even housing, whereby you need to interrogate why are you buying this house, or this land? Because at times, George, what happens with most of us, that you, just because of the social acceptance, you just need to have maybe a house or land somewhere. But in that particular area, if you look in terms of appreciation, you find that land that doesn't even appreciate in that area. Big kind of in higher margins. For example, you find that some developers I've seen, they're developing land in in areas whereby they find to attract buyers. I found along the Thika Road of late, you find there are some houses which were built, but up to today, they have not been occupied by even by a single person.
That's true.
And 5 years down the line, they have even started coming now deteriorating.
Yeah.
So in such a case, is that house an asset or a liability? It's an liability because now it started eating from your pocket as a developer to renovate it. Yeah, there's no income coming in. So in terms of investment, it's a wide topic that we need to understand. Even before you buy a house, understand why are you buying this house?
Yeah.
Is it even necessary at this point in time? Because maybe you are buying a house, you are alone, and the cost of servicing the service charge in that area is more than the house, the rent, the standard rent payable elsewhere. You find that now, in our case, even as you service this loan, which we give you as a Sacco, as a bank, you're also paying service charge. Okay. Which is so high, you know. So it beats the logic why you need that particular that house at that particular time. So it's a whole thing that we need to interrogate ourselves before you do this investment. Are we doing them for the right purpose at the right time?
Okay.
Yes.
You know, you mentioned about people setting up homes and they're never staying there. I know this is away from the subject, but I'd love to hear from you. I know on a developer's perspective. Why is it that when you just leave a building like that, forget about the aspect of maintenance and everything, that sometimes you even start having cracks crumbled down. Like this one is a building that people don't walk into. What happens really? I'm keen to understand that. You know, those houses somewhere in Jagu, you're told the people died long time ago. Probably someone comes there once in a while. The cracks this is out of the subject.
True. Yeah, actually that's very true, and those are stalled projects. And for sure, if you start a project and you do not maybe finish within the shortest time, the stipulated time, it becomes a liability. You can have this an asset, yes, you are building a very nice mansionette, a very nice house, but again you stall. You are not able to complete. Okay. It now starts eating. If somebody had taken a loan, you are continuing to service a loan, which means you are continuing to pay rent. Yes. And the reason why people actually go to get a loan to acquire a house is so that they can stop the pressure of paying rent. And once they stop the pressure of paying rent, that rent that they were paying can go into servicing of the loan. Yeah. So when somebody is acquiring a house, that is why it is very crucial and it's very important for you to partner with somebody who also understands. Somebody who understands the importance of timelines. Because if you get a loan and you are servicing a loan and again you are still paying rent, it beats logic. So what we normally encourage, like as Mizizi Africa Homes Limited, we normally give a timeline of 1 year. 1 year, we know that is a very hard time for you because you are servicing your loan, because you find that most loans you are not given that long grace period. Even if you are given a grace period, maybe 3, a maximum I've had is 6 months. You start now servicing the loan. At the same time, you're servicing your loan and also paying rent, which is now actually like double tragedy. But if you get into a partnership with a company or a developer that understands, you are paying your interest for your loan and your loan plus interest. At the same time, you are paying rent, so you have a lot of burden. So this person understands the importance of beating deadline and beating timelines, keeping timelines. So you find that somebody has bought a house within 1 year, they have completed paying. They will get rid of the pressure of paying rent. And at least whatever is remaining is now the payment of the loan. This payment of the loan may take maybe 4 years or even up to maybe whatever amount of time, even 10 years. But you see, at least they are not paying rent. So by the time they have completed paying the loan, now the property is theirs 100%. Now they have the documents, they have the title, they can make use of it. And that is now when the people now graduate, you can even start approaching the banks. You can now approach the bank comfortably. You are not paying rent. You are not paying any Sacco. And your income is still intact because your source of income continues, and that is how to create wealth. If people can understand that, and even Saccos and developers, they hold hands and they show the client, because at the end of the day it's about the client, how the impact of each and every action that they take and how we can assist them. If we do that, we are actually even going to assist even the country generally to grow. Because now these people are going to grow. Yes, you have the Sacco. We are not telling you to get out of the Sacco now. Yes, the Sacco has built you up, but now you are in another level where you can now comfortably go to the bank. You have your income, you have your house, you have your collateral.
Yeah.
So you're able to give even more money, and you're able to, and again that money maybe you bring back, and generally we are going to grow the people, and the economy is growing. Generally, if we grow the people, the economy is growing. Going
automatically.
To grow.
That's true. In such arrangements where, well, there is an involvement of the developer and there is the client here, what is the worst that can happen? He spoke of what would play out on his end, and maybe as a developer you'd agree with the Sacco, instead of having to go to this person who's not now able to service the loan, then we can have an arrangement where we'll set up, make sure that the building is out, and then sell it and then come back and pay the Sacco. What arrangements are there open for some of these, to make sure that at least the client is cushioned, and in the event that they do not pay, what is the worst that can happen?
Okay, what happens that in such a scenario is already we have an agreement with the developers, the people who are now constructing those houses, and at times they need the timelines should be very strict, because we have had instances where now the developers are not able to complete the projects at the stipulated time, the timelines that we agreed. Yes. And this makes now brings the whole problem now, because now the customer continues paying rent, as Jan talked about, and at the same time is servicing the loan. So the agreements maybe put forward before the contracts comes into place should be very watertight, and ensure that the developer is put into his place in terms of timelines. If you are funded, you agree to release funds to the developer as per the agreement, then the developers should take their jobs very seriously. And maybe so at least at that particular time that we had agreed, the customer could now be able to occupy their space, and that part stopping rent. So sometimes for us as Sacco, we have been able, through our legal departments, we have been able to push those contracts and ensure they are watertight. So at least the customer may not lose. On the other side, how we be able to structure this contract is that there are tripartite kind of agreements between the client, the Sacco, and the developer. So at least now everybody can be guided by the law. Because at times you find that the person who loses most in these scenarios is the customer, because you find so many developers in this republic, so many of them actually, you find that it's even looking like a fraud nowadays. When talk about
so
housing.
Now there's fear of the unknown.
Yeah, you've had so many off-plan kind of programs, housing developers who are doing off-plan. Failing to fulfill the promises, or even failing to accomplish the promise that they did initially. Yet this person has put a lot of finances into servicing, or rather into giving his percentage of what he was supposed to provide. So he's left back paying the loan. His cash has been hoarded in the project, and he doesn't have the house at the end of the day. So it's very good to vet even the developers very critically. Have these people been able to do certain projects earlier? What have you been, like Mizizi? If you partner with Mizizi, we are able to look at their portfolio. What have you been able to achieve? So even before you ask for a partnership, are you be able to deliver to the scope that we really require? Can you show us what you have really done before? Because sometimes everybody coming out of university today is a developer. But if you ask this person what house have they built elsewhere, none. They don't have a track record. So in terms of appraisal, we are able to look at all that. So before we get into these partnerships. So at least by the time we get into this partnership, they are very watertight, and the customer is well assured that they're going to get their property once they are completed within the stipulated timelines. And
so the security is way better?
What I can say for sure, everybody needs to be accountable at the end of the day. And also the Saccos, there is like the refinancing bill that was passed, and this is money that I understand is being given by the World Bank, and it's being channeled through the banks. And what I can encourage, if the Saccos can also be empowered, if the Saccos are empowered, and there's a very clear bill or law which makes the Sacco accountable, the developer accountable, so that at the end of the day we want to create people who are very capable. And actually we have international monetary people that are willing to fund, to give money. I understand that like the World Bank gives these loans at a very subsidized interest rates. If the Saccos also can be very open-minded, so that they also want to help so many other people, because you know you can help as much maybe as your members, but now housing is something that we have realized is a very basic need, and it's something that all players need to come along, including everybody, including the government. The Saccos open up their mind so that they can actually be able to help more people, more members. So if Saccos are empowered, and maybe this money is channeled through the Saccos, I believe that this money can trickle down very effectively to the common people, common wananchi. And when a developer, a straightforward person, has the financing, they have the liquidity, I do not see why you should be able to have a stalled project.
After at the
end of the day.
Thank you so much. We have a long way to go, but we hope that we can be there. Gentlemen, Henry Wachira, branch manager, Fortune Sacco, right next to me. The last speaker, John Buru, the CEO of Mizizi Africa Homes. There's more that we can talk about housing, about investing, in Saccos, and I know we'll always get another time, some other time. Thank you so much for speaking to us this morning. It's Fitness Thursday, yes, and so in a few minutes or thereabout, we'll be hitting the gym.